evening. I'm giving a talk on design thinking, how empathy can be a superpower. First of all, what is design thinking? Let's just talk about what design thinking is not. Design thinking is not some poster taken off from Pinterest, and of course, it's not some overambitious interface design. Seriously though, design thinking is an approach to developing and discovering innovative solutions that are desirable, feasible, and viable. Design thinking is a way of thinking and working, as well as a collection of methods. But this is the best part. Design thinking is an iterative process in which we seek to understand the user, challenge our assumptions, and redefine problems in an attempt to identify alternative solutions and strategies that might not be instantly apparent with our initial level of understanding. The design thinking process it happens in many phases, or it happens in phases or steps, and there are various institutions that define the design thinking phases in different ways. If you take a Google search and you search on design thinking, you'll find something like this. But don't panic. At Semicolon, we follow the 6-phase process, and this is it. We have the first phase, we have the understand, observe, the define point of view phase, the ideate phase, the prototype phase, and the testing phase. Let's break it down. In the understand phase, we frame the design challenge and do a lot of desk research to understand what the problem is. In the observe phase, we go out there, interact with actual human beings, and gain insightful data on how these human beings interface with the problems. In a defined point of view phase, we analyze all the information that we've gathered so far, and then we try to converge on a specific problem statement. In the ideate phase, we generate a lot of ideas that we think have the potential to solve these problems, and then we select a few that we can prototype. In the prototype phase, we create tangible artifacts that we can use to test in real life. It could be a prototype created in InVision or in Adobe XD or Figma, or it could be an MVP, something that users can use and something that users can make use of, and you can gain insights as to whether this solution actually solves the problem. In the test phase, we are testing out all the prototypes or the prototypes we created to find out what works and what doesn't, and then we repeat the process all over again until we get it right. Empathy as a superpower. Feeling by relation. Empathy is the capacity to understand or feel what people actually feel. It's to get into the shoes of your neighbor and to understand their pain like it's yours. Empathy is feeling by relation. Empathy, most importantly, is understanding and not pity. The human-centeredness of things. Human-centered design is a mindset to problem solving that makes the user, the people, the major determinant in the innovative process. So design thinking is an innovative process, right? But a human-centered design is like the layer on top all of that that helps us focus on the needs of the users, on the satisfaction of the users as our end goal. Using empathy, I don't have time, I would have given a lot of examples, but the Piggyverse story about how they found out that people needed to save digitally just by a Twitter thread in 2017, Apple and its globally loved products, the Melinda Gates Foundation and their huge love for tackling serious issues in third world countries like malaria, polio, and their latest fancy with toilets. But bros, right? But please stay with me. Is it really worth it? The UX Fund, let's talk about the UX Fund. In 2006, two people, Tihan and Lax, they were design partners, decided to try out an hypothesis. The hypothesis was that companies focused on delivering great customer experiences through empathy, would have a positive uptick in their stock market valuations. They wanted to see how UX, how design thinking can actually improve businesses. So they picked 10 design-forward companies like Netflix, Apple, Google, Yahoo, JetBlue, and the rest of them, and invested $5,000 in each of them. 10 years later, Netflix has seen a 3,000+% valuation increase and has continued to innovate in what they consider to be the best experiences for their users. BlackBerry lost its focus, and of course, you all know what happened to BlackBerry, as well as Yahoo. And Apple went on, remember it was 2006. The iPhone came out in 2007. The iPad came out after that. And right now we have the iPhone XS Max and all the beautiful products that we use today and we love. And we see that they have built that customer loyalty through empathy, and they became the first $1 trillion company. The McKinsey Design Index. McKinsey, the huge management consulting firm, in an article on the business value of design, claims to have effectively created a framework to properly assess a company's MDI. And they realized that high MDI, or rather, let me explain what high MDI means in a company. High MDI is that design thinking and empathy exist in all their decision-making efforts, even at executive level. From top down, the company lives and breathes design and empathy. And they realized that there was a consistent correlation between high MDI in a company and their value in the stock exchange, or their value when it comes to revenue generation or profit making. So we can see that design thinking and empathy are really good when it comes to producing a positive impact in a business, as well as the positive impact in society. Because if you can produce products and services and systems and platforms that have empathy at its core or at their core towards the potential users, you would actually help to reduce the negativity in the world. You are doing something good. Now, disruption versus obsolescence. The distinction. Disruption is different from obsolescence, right? Disruption has been a buzzword for so long, but it has held its own. To disrupt is to do things differently in a stagnant industry, to do it more efficiently, probably cheaper, basically adding technology to an industry that has become stagnated over time. Understanding the problem and empathizing with the users will get you to bring about actual disruption, right? It is one thing to disrupt an industry or product or platform. It is another thing to completely obsolete it, to render entirely useless whole ecosystems by sheer whims of raw innovation. Now, the difference between disruption and obsolescence is that disruption seems to be a slow walk towards change. Obsolescence is more radical. It's like a revolution. When the iPhone came out in 2007, we had Nokia, we had BlackBerry, and the key thing about Nokia phones is that you could make actual phone calls with them. The key thing about BlackBerry was the chat experience, the conversations, right? But then what the iPhone did in 2007 was to make those two devices apps. So you have iMessage and you had the normal phone call, your phone book on your iPhone, but they were just apps. It completely made obsolete Nokia phones and BlackBerry phones simultaneously. But how did they come about that? They had to drill down into the actual needs of their users. They had to understand their users so perfectly well that it was as if they could anticipate their needs, their future fears, their pain points. And you can only achieve this through empathy. Final words. The merits of root cause analysis. the 5 Whys framework of Sakichi Toyota, the founder of Toyota Industries. So we have that the 5 Whys framework was that if you have a problem, you ask why. And then when you get an answer to that why, you ask another why, and you ask why 5 times until you get to the root cause of the problem. Because if you can solve the root cause of the problem, then you can bring about better and greater change. Your users are people too. It is very easy to get lost in the numbers on our screens when we are looking at the numbers of people using our products and services. But we need to realize that each number represents a person, and that person has a life. That person goes through a lot of things every day. And understanding their mindsets, understanding their perspectives will give us greater insights into how to solve their problems in the best and the most sustainable way. Knowing this, maybe we all can design and develop solutions through empathy for all use cases, for inclusion, and for accessibility. If this talk has convinced you that design thinking and empathy have or should have a permanent place in your innovation and in your work, your everyday work life, please, you can go on to read more on these principles by checking out these books or these online resources. We have the 101 design methods, the universal methods of design, innovating for people, my all-time favorite, the design thinking playbook. It has a lot of illustrations and pictures. Very good. Actually has games as well. Then the designkit.org contains methods that we can use in our everyday lives, as well as case studies of people around the world making use of these methods to impact and totally radicalize lives, or totally revolutionize lives. And now my watch has ended. Thank you for having me.